Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for checking out my channel. On this episode, I'm going to talk about 500 days on the wrist with my Rolex Submariner Date, reference number 126610LN. Now, it's been an interesting 500 days with this watch. If you look at just the numbers, the Rolex Submariner Date should be the best, most optimal watch I have in my watch collection. Then why is it every time I go to my watch box, this is the watch I reach for the least? My name is Shane Walls and I make my living as a fine art nature photographer and explorer. I've come to truly depend on my tool watches when I'm out in the field. Whether it be timing my hikes or timing my camera exposures, tool watches are an intricate tool in my photography process. And these episodes on this channel are based on my amateur watch collecting journey as I search for that ultimate tool watch. Long-term update, well, I guess you can call it long-term. Either way, quick update on my Rolex Submariner Date, 500 days on the wrist. Let's get through this real quick. I know this is a very polarizing subject, these long-term updates. Some of you out there love it, some of you absolutely hate it. So let's get to it. Before we get into the psychological side of this, which I think is what's bringing this watch down for me, let's talk about what's really important with this watch. First off, the accuracy of this watch. Watch is extremely accurate. Over the 500 days, it's averaged about a half second fast over 24 hours. And unlike my other watches, I've noticed this movement is happiest when it's about 12 hours on the wrist, 12 hours just sitting. And I don't have a watch winder. I just set these in a box and they just sit, not moving overnight. It is interesting because most of my other mechanical watches, they're more accurate when they're constantly being worn. Not the Submariner, not this movement at least. It likes that half and half. 12 hours on the wrist, 12 hours off. So half second fast over 24 hours. Very good, can't beat that. Power reserve. The power reserve has not wavered on this watch. It's rated for 70 hours. I usually get 72 to 73 hours on this watch. Power reserve still really good. It's holding on. The rotating ceramic bezel. I use this about really 6 to 10 times a day every time I have it on. It's still tack and sounds great. Still works very, very, very well. Water resistance on this watch, I haven't truly tested it. I've gone scuba diving with it. I've only been down 15 meters. That's the deepest I've been with this watch. Every time I do it, it works just fine. I take it surfing all the time. No issues with water getting in this watch. Again, I haven't truly tested it, but it holds up well with just those kind of activities. Light scuba diving and water activities. It's a very comfortable watch. It's almost the perfect size at 41 millimeter. And it's got maybe the best bracelet in the industry with its glide lock system. Extremely comfortable, durable, very useful and adaptable. I'm not gonna dive any deeper, get it, on the technical side of this watch. I've done it in multiple other videos. So if you wanna see the day-to-day with this watch and what I put it through out in the field, you can go see that on some of my older videos. Like I mentioned earlier, technically, this is an amazing, amazing watch. So then why is it I haven't quite bonded with it like I have my other watches, my Rolex Explorer 2 or my Rolex Explorer 40, and even if you get down to it, my Victorinox. Sitting down and thinking about it, I came to the conclusion that the Rolex Submariner is definitely a victim of its own success, as well as for me, it's got this Jekyll and Hyde type of flavor. And what I mean by that is, when it has those amazing things about it, sometimes I don't like it, sometimes I love it. And this is one of those main things about this watch. I don't like how it's aging. Something that I very much like is the non-scratch ceramic bezel. It's very tough. I've hit it quite a few times, I've dinged it. No issues. It's great for the watch to always look new and pristine for those formal events. Also too, the polished sides. They look good for high-end events. It brings up the luxury feel of this watch a little bit. As well as, I like how they scratch, because in my watches, I like my watches all scratched up. Every scratch tells a story. However, they don't work together. You look at the front of this watch, it looks brand new, straight from the factory. Turn it to the polished sides, which if you look at it cross-eyed, scratches, which is a big difference between the hardy scratch resistant front to something that's so fragile, they don't work well together. You look at the front, very nice, looks new. Look at the side, it looks like a beat up old watch. The dynamic and look of this watch is thrown off by those two completely separate elements. One very fragile, one tough and robust. In my opinion, instead of the polished sides, I would rather see a matte or machine. That would give it more of a tool look, I think. It would go better with the ceramic, or switch it all up, leave the polished sides and go back to an aluminum bezel. So everything either gets scratched up or nothing gets scratched up to give it more of a balanced feel as it ages. And all this future, the rest of this, it's all personal preference and personal experiences with this watch. It's just such a weird look of this watch that the sides are all gnarled up and scratched, and then you look at it straight on, it looks beautiful, brand new. The other side to this watch, and it shouldn't bother me, but it does a little bit, is the popularity of this watch. I think it's the most popular Rolex watch. And I do a lot of formal high-end events with gallery exhibits, fundraisers, all that stuff. And what I mean, the success of this watch is its own worst enemy. Going to one of these formal events, and it was one of the one good thing about it was I wasn't planning on going. I was surfing earlier, and I thought, oh, you know what, I should just make a quick stop by. This amazing artist, one of the best artists in Laguna Beach, was having an open show. And I thought, oh, well, I always have a suit just sitting in the back of my car button up. So I just changed into it real quick and thought, got my Rolex Submariner on, just wear that watch. I don't need to take it off. I was out surfing with it. Went into this art event, and there was at least 10 people wearing this exact watch. Exactly. Not that big a deal, totally fine. This part of the world where a lot of people have, where I mean, we're next to Newport Beach, we're next to LA, we're next to Hollywood, Beverly Hills, all that stuff. So I understood that. That's not what bothers me. So when I went up to someone and I got talking with them, and after talking, I mentioned, oh, that's a beautiful Rolex Submariner Date you have on your wrist. And he immediately goes into, oh, it's so hard to get. You have to be a VIP. My assistant took months for me to get this. I even paid over ARP. And, oh no, I just, it's a nice watch. What do you think about the new higher size, the 41 millimeter compared to the 40? What do you think about that? And he looked at me odd, and then I showed him mine, and I could just see in his eyes, his heart kind of dropped to see someone else had that watch. It was just such an interesting thing, though. He knew nothing about the watch. Not its history, not that it was, I try to talk about, do you think it's the first diver? Do you think Blancpain had that over them? He had no idea what I was talking about. He only bought it as a status symbol. Didn't care anything about the history or the movement or the quality or the craftsmanship of this watch. It was only about the only thing he cared about was how hard supposedly it was for him to get it, and he only got it because it was important. Which, for watch enthusiasts, it's not really how it works or how it is with these types of watches. Because most people who do buy the Rolex Submariner are just buying it for prestige and to show off, it has become a pretty hated watch in the watch community and outside the watch community. It's got that stigma about it. And oh God, trust me, I feel it on this channel. I hear it all the time. When I first got this watch, you would not believe some of the comments I got. There are some amazing people, explorers, top of their field, top of their industry, wearing a Rolex Submariner. There are so many other people that don't care a thing about watches. They just want that Rolex name on their wrist. And that's the majority. Vast majority. And that's what's so sad. The Rolex Submariner is a victim of its own success. That is what's so sad about this watch. The bulk crowd wearing this knows nothing about it. And now since you do own one of these, or since I own one of these, I get slid into that group of people. And in today's society, you are judged quickly and most of the time unfairly. And there's been quite a few instances where I've been I guess you could say called out for having this watch just as a status symbol, which is completely unfair. And I hate to say this, but those experiences, it taints this watch for me. It shouldn't. It's not the watch's fault. It's just such an awkward place to be with this watch. I love this watch. Technically, it's amazing. It's so superior. It's a crazy good watch. And that's all that should matter. It really should. It's like Formula One. Ever since Netflix did an overdramatic TV series about it, the popularity has skyrocketed. I now cringe every time Will Buxton or Laura Winters interviews a celebrity or a fan at one of the races, asking them what they love about Formula One. The answer is always they love the pageantry, the fun atmosphere, the party atmosphere. No one ever mentions the 200 plus men and women on each team working 17-hour days to improve the performance of what we would think as minuscule amount of time. Lap times over several miles are measured in thousands, yes, the thousandths of a second. Drivers expertly maneuvering these machines at over 200 miles an hour, where a few inches can mean the difference between winning the race and a horrible crash. What makes the Rolex Submariner so very special has been lost. Like F1, the exquisite engineering, mind-blowing driver skill, and soul of this sport has been lost because most people are more impressed with the party atmosphere. All that being said, this is a killer watch. And I've thought about it, and instead of changing people or changing people's idea, because that's never gonna happen, this watch might become a little bit more of my field watch. When I first got this watch, it was gonna be my field/dress watch because it is so pretty. It is a little too shiny for a field watch, a ceramic bezel, a little too pretty, but I think that's where it's gonna be better suited for me, out in the field where people aren't seeing me wear it. So I get the true experience and pleasure of this watch. Arguably one of the best watches of all time. It's just now, gonna say it multiple times throughout this video, it's such a victim of its success that now it's better to maybe wear it in private, out in the field, out where I'm not gonna be seen, to truly enjoy this watch. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like what you saw, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe. We got some fun stuff coming out with some other watches, some new watches coming soon. And we got some fun travel/camera, high-end phase 1 camera gear coming to this channel. We'll be putting maybe the best camera in the world with the best watch in the world. Should be fun. Thank you again so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Cheers.